Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. My name is Amy Brownell, and every week I go live here on YouTube at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, to talk about all things CFO and advisory related. So if you have questions or comments or want to hear a specific topic, go ahead and drop your comment, your question into the chat below, and I will get that answered for you. So today what we're going to do is talk about 2 tricks that you can use to nail every single consultation call. So the consultation call is a super important part of the process of getting clients. One would argue the most important part. And I'm going to show you exactly what needs to be done to have a great outcome. Before we get into that, though, I want to encourage you to hit that like, subscribe button. I want you to be aware anytime I drop new content or new videos. So be sure you subscribe to the channel, and then I want to be interactive. So definitely, if you have questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section of this video. All right, let's get into it. So there are 5 main steps of the consultation call process. The first is building rapport. So everyone kind of knows what rapport is. It is that nice, friendly back and forth where you're looking for something that you and the prospect have in common. Maybe it's you went to the same college, maybe you worked at a similar job, maybe you have a similar, like a same hobby, something like that, something that you guys can bond over, building rapport. That way it doesn't feel like it's like a stranger on stranger conversation. The second step of the consultation call is telling me, the person who the business owner, telling you about their business. So making sure that you understand kind of the basics, what they do, who their audience is, what they charge, kind of some of the big things about their business. And of course, going into the third one, that dovetails into number 3, their pain points. Why are they calling you today? So really understanding kind of what that all means, what they're calling you about, what their problems are. I'm going to dig into that in just a minute. I want to give you the last 2 steps of the consultation call process. The 4th is scope. So exactly what you're going to be doing every month for this client, solving said problem or helping them achieve said goal. And then finally, the last part is the fee range. We all like to get paid. So it is all about making sure that we are giving a fee range rather than one specific number. So we have a little bit of wiggle room just in case something extra comes up, just so we have a really good understanding of the program. So we want to give a range. Now, the 2 tricks. The first one is when I talk about pain points, what does that mean? Well, it means finding the real problem. It means when a prospect is talking to you about something in their business, it could be something as simple as, hey, I need some help because I want to grow revenue by $500,000 next year. All of that is great. But what we really want is a very specific problem, a very specific goal. And I'm guessing your question would be, well, how do I know when I have a specific enough problem And the answer to that is it's because you can assign a dollar amount to it. So let's go through a couple of examples. So if a client, finding the real problem requires a lot of asking questions. So a lot of people are very nervous about doing this. They think that they're just talking about themselves and they're monopolizing the conversation. But it is our job as CFOs on this call to be the leaders of the call, to be the person who's asking the questions, who's in control of the call. So we, in order to really clearly understand the problem, the real problem, we need to ask some questions. And a lot of times those questions are as simple as one word, which is why. So for example, let's say a prospect is talking to you about their business and they say, well, I just don't really know what's happening in my business. That's their problem. Well, is that a specific problem? Are we able to attribute a dollar amount to that problem? No, not really. Which would mean that's not the real problem. The real problem is something else. So we have to keep digging. Okay, well, why do you feel like you don't know what's going on within the business? And let's just say the answer is, well, I don't get any reports. Okay, all right, so they gave us some more information. Is it specific? It might be specific-ish, but can we assign a dollar amount to it? Not really. How much are reports worth? Very ambiguous. So we have to ask some more questions. And so something along the lines of, okay, well, why aren't you receiving reports? And that can be anywhere from, hey, my bookkeeper doesn't give me reports. It can be, I don't have a bookkeeper. It can be, I'm doing it myself. I don't know how to generate the reports. It can be, I don't have enough, I'm doing my bookkeeping myself and I don't have enough time to get to it. It can be a lot of different things. And all of those things are difficult to assign a dollar amount to, so not quite specific enough. For sake of this example, let's assume that the problem is that they are doing it themselves and therefore don't have time with everything else that's happening in the business to generate reports. So we say, okay, what do you think you should be doing rather than running reports? What's taking priority? And they say something along the lines of, well, I am trying to grow. And so I am spending time on that, and just kind of everything else is falling by the wayside. So now we're starting to get somewhere. So what we're really hearing here is this client wants to grow, but they need some information on the reporting to help them get there, to help them know what to do, where to look, how to handle it. So a few more questions are probably in order. Okay, you want to grow. Great. How much do you want to grow by and why? And that is where we get a lot of the answers to our questions. That's where we are able to assign a dollar amount. Well, I want to grow my business $500,000 in revenue next year versus this year. And I want to do it because I am trying to save for my daughter's wedding and we have some family stuff coming up. I just want to make sure that we're prepared. All righty, now you got something to work with. You know that the problem is that there's a wedding and there's some other family stuff that this person is looking to pay for. They're concerned that they're not going to be able to have the money and they're looking for some assurance. What can I do to make sure that we get there? Well, so you have now identified the real problem. We've also done trick 2, which is assign a cost to the problem. In this case, the cost of the problem is that $500,000 revenue growth. And the cost of the problem can be a goal like this one. It can be solving a problem. Let's say gross margin is supposed to be 30% and it's 22%. So we can size that problem by taking the difference in margin multiplied by the revenue. It can be anything as long as we are able to assign a cost to it. So we've done that. So being able to have that conversation and ask those questions, we now know a lot about their business. This is a good time to interject some rapport, something that maybe you guys have in common that you've just heard. You know that the business, we don't know if they're doing okay or not, but we know that they want to grow. We know that there's a wedding. We can ask questions about the wedding. We can ask questions about the other family events. We can ask questions about what they're hoping that those reports will give them to help them reach the goal. If they think it's possible to reach the goal, a $500,000 goal in a year. So there's a lot of stuff we can do here, a lot of information that we have that now we can go to the next step, which is, like I said, number 4, defining the scope. Okay, as CFOs, we know that we do 8 main skills. So reading and interpreting the financial statements, variance analysis, developing and tracking key performance indicators, budgeting, cash flow forecasting, P&L forecasting, long-term strategic planning, and financial modeling and analysis. So what does helping this person, this prospect, achieve that $500,000 goal look like? Well, we have to have a pretty good idea of what's going on within the business right now. So we need to be looking at their financials. We need to probably do some variance analysis. We need to see if our target is reasonable based on maybe some KPIs from competitors or from the industry. We probably want to put together a budget. We probably want to manage some cash. And we're definitely going to want to do some financial modeling and analysis. We're definitely going to want to understand kind of what's happening within the business and how we can solve problems, make changes to the numbers to ensure that that goal is achieved. Excuse me. So we are going to be using a lot of skills. So that is going to be the scope. And the scope also is not only what we're going to do, but what the client is responsible for. So as CFOs, we are responsible for coming up with the ideas, for being able to give guidance on, okay, the best ways to achieve this $500,000 in growth is to, for example, increase prices and get 6 new customers. Say you're in a construction business, whatever. But you need to be able to narrow that down, hence the financial modeling and analysis. You need to be able to break that down into easily digestible chunks, because they're going to then have to take that recommendation, take that advice, and go and execute against it. So if they have to land 6 new clients, when does that have to happen by? How does that look? What does the pricing look like? So those are the kinds of things that are included in scope. What I'm responsible for, what you're responsible for, easy peasy. Now, regarding the fee range, you heard me say that we are doing all of these tasks, but we are not charging by task. We are going to charge not hourly. I know a lot of you bookkeepers are charging hourly. We're not going to do that. We are not going to charge by task. We are going to charge based on the value that we create. So value-based pricing. So in this case, the size of the goal, the size of the problem is $500,000. So we are going to, as our fee, take a percentage of that $500,000. And then that's our fee. So easy peasy. Pricing is really the easiest part of the whole thing. You don't have to take into account number of transactions or number of accounts. You don't have to worry about any of that. And you're not having to track your time. We are being paid based off our ability to help them achieve that goal, giving them the ideas, the advice, the feedback to not only give them something to execute upon, but if something that we've recommended doesn't work out, how can we pivot? What can we tell them to do that would change the result? So that is, in a nutshell, the consultation call process. So remember, building rapport. A lot of people discount building rapport. Don't do that. It is super important. Having the person tell you about their business, what they do, who they are, why they do it, what they're selling. Number 3, pain points. So find that real problem, ask questions. And then once you have that real problem, assign a cost to the real problem. That is one of the most critical parts of the entire process. Number 4, scope. Who's responsible for what? And then number 5, giving them a fee range. So not just saying, hey, it is going to be, at this point, you can be as general as you'd like. You can say, based on what I know now, it looks like the fee range would be somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, for example. So feel free to give them a range. And then once you get access to their financials, maybe once you get in there, you're like, yeah, these numbers aren't quite right. I need some clean data before I get started on developing growth plans. Then that's obviously not included in the scope. So you want to be able to then go back and add in some scope, add in some fee, or have them find somebody who can do that job. So those are the 5 steps of the consultation call. I hope that you enjoyed this live session. I certainly did. If you have, like I said, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the chat. Be sure to ask them. If you want to follow me for more information, we have I'm available on LinkedIn. You can find that link in the description of the video. You can follow me on Facebook. Excuse me, and also on here on YouTube, of course. And I actually have an upcoming challenge coming up. It is October 22nd. So in a couple of weeks, and we are going to dive more into CFO advisory services. So exactly what CFOs do, why they're able to command those large fees. I'm going to show you how to use a tool that's going to make the whole process super simple. And then finally, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks about getting clients that are happy to pay those high ticket fees. So be sure to register for that. The link is gamechangerchallenge.com/register. Again, that is gamechangerchallenge.com/register. And that is it. Like I said, be sure to leave your comments and questions in the chat below. And be sure to join me back here next Tuesday and every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific for another episode of the CFO Insider, where we talk about all things CFO and advisory related. All right. Have a great week.